Hi everyone, it's Alexa here, and you're on the Wednesday sessions. This is Wednesday, April 29th today, almost the end of April here. It's a bit of a off non-rainy day here on Vancouver Island in the Cowichan Valley, and I'm joined by some amazing people here live for the session. And if you're listening into the replay, it's great to have you here to just tune into where we're at right now and do some energy medicine and some breath practice and some restorative time for you. So as always in these sessions, I do these every Wednesday morning, 9:30 a.m. And hopefully you're on the list. You get the email with the Zoom link and you can come on live. And if not, if you're listening to the replay, that's awesome too. Get all of the great benefits. And I would really encourage this time to be a restorative time for you. So what I mean by that is taking the time to turn off your devices and just shift any distractions if it's possible, and really allow this to be a space for you dedicated to your well-being. Mm-hmm. Good. So as we move through the session today, depending on whether or not you've worked with me in the past, I tend to do a nice big breath practice at the beginning of the session. I do this for a few reasons. One is it's a beautiful way to connect to the body. Two, it's incredible for the nervous system and our ability to auto-regulate within our autonomic nervous system, working with the breath. And also allows us to be in a more receptive space for the session to really land for us in the best possible way. So essentially working with this breath at the beginning, I'll do a guided practice, and it changes every week. I don't always know what's going to come out of my mouth as far as where we want to focus. I just kind of let it flow and see where it takes us. So some logistics here for today. I invite you to be aware of your needs and your own personal well-being, which means, take a bathroom break if you need it, finding somewhere really cozy for the session, and then having some self-care practices after the session. So whether that's drinking water or having a nap or a bath or going for a walk, whatever that is for you. And I really trust you to find those spaces for yourself that will really allow this all to settle. You may find within the session itself that you have some different sensations come up. So there might be a feeling of tingling or hot and cold, or even emotions that rise up during the session. And as I always say, you may feel nothing at all. And that's all along that spectrum is totally normal and natural. For many, many years of energy medicine and having energy medicine done on me, I felt nothing. And yet it still did some amazing things for me. And it, as I've been doing this for a very long time, I started to feel more and more and more on that subtle level. And so, yeah, totally normal if that doesn't come up. You'll notice me, I often yawn during the session. It's not because I'm tired. It's a way that I diffuse and release energy. So sorry for having to look down my throat on the video. I'll try to cover my mouth, but sometimes I forget. So yeah, so those are some things that may come up for you, and that's great. And knowing that some of those things may shift after the session. So you may feel bubblings of emotion, different things happening after the session as well. Again, totally normal and natural. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. So here we go. For those on the call here today, so lovely to see all your beautiful faces. I'm going to invite you all and all those listening to the replay to find somewhere cozy and comfortable to settle in for the session here today. Just taking your time to find that right spot where you can really unwind. And if you feel comfortable, you're welcome to close your eyes. And don't worry, if you fall asleep, you'll still get all the great stuff of the session. So don't worry. Good. We're going to start by connecting to the breath. Connecting to the invigorating in-breaths and the unwinding out-breaths. Noticing the different qualities of the in and the out-breath. The activating quality of the in-breath and the unwinding quality of the out-breath. And bringing focus, awareness onto the phase of the in-breath. Becoming curious about this part of the breath and beginning to notice how it shows up in your body, in your being. So first, noticing the activating, enlivening quality of the in-breath. How it wakes up the tissues and the circuits and the communication systems in the body. And you're going to imagine that in-breath is like a wave moving from a center point, rippling out, like a big water ripple. So imagine that center point is your diaphragm, your thoracic diaphragm below the ribs. And you'll notice with each breath that ripple moves a little further out, that wave of activation and awareness. Until you feel those ripples connecting to the tips of your toes and the ends of your fingers and right to the top of your head. And beyond, and beyond. In the sense that you can connect and become aware of all the cells, all the tissues, and maybe even beyond the body. Beautiful. This breath, this in-breath is connected to the sympathetic nervous system, the activating, what we might call the flight-fight nervous system. It's a very important part of the breath. And then we connect now to the out-breath, the exhale. This breath is connected to the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system. You can feel the unwinding, relaxing qualities of this breath. As the in-breath activates and makes things become aware, makes us aware of our body. The out-breath allows this melting of the tension, this melting away of maybe some brace that we've been carrying. We notice the releasing quality of that out breath. And then we allow these two breaths to come into our awareness together. The in breath and its activating quality. Our out breath and its unwinding quality. And notice with that new awareness what happens in your body in the in breath and the out breath. And being and noticing here as well as we connect to those breaths, this full cycle of breathing. If there's any areas of your body that it's hard to bring awareness into, it's hard to bring unwinding into. Maybe there's an area that you're getting a lot of sensation from now that you're becoming aware. Maybe it's whispering or even yelling at you a little bit. And I invite you to bring those waves of breath into that area and see, just be curious if that wave of breath, that awareness and of that region might allow a little bit of unwinding. Good. These are often the areas that we ignore with the breath, so it can be potent to bring the breath to them. I know for myself, it's bringing my breath into my pelvis. Good. Good. So now that we're feeling more in our bodies, we're going to connect to the session with the work that we're doing today is called Body Talk. And it's combined with other work that I do. So I'll share as we go along what's coming up for the entire group, not just everybody tuning in live, but those that are listening to the replay and those that have expressed interest to be connected and included. And we're looking today to start in the space of, I'm trying to remember which author. Was it Brene Brown that talked about the messy middle? Maybe. What we're working with is our relationship to what I'm going to call the muck, like the sludgy, okay, our boots are getting stuck. it's that's not the easiest work to do, and we often feel this sense of, I don't want to be in this, I don't want to be here. Can I do something that feels nicer? So the awareness that we're bringing to this is, how do I relate to my own kind of shadow, mucky, messy stuff right now? What's that like for me at this moment? How am I navigating that at present? Mm. It's interesting today. So we were working with a lot of archetypes over the weeks. Today, the archetype that we're working with is what I'm going to call the inner child. And so, um, yeah, it's the part of us that um, will show up sometimes, especially if there's unhealed parts of this aspect of us, which for most of us there is, unless we had an absolutely idyllic, perfect childhood, which, you know, um, yeah, I don't know if that necessarily exists. Um, so working with our inner child can be really potent, and this is often there when we get responses that seem really emotional and sort of uh, yeah, reactive, and that we don't necessarily understand. Sometimes that can even be some parts of us that are arising that were maybe even pre-verbal. I call this like, this is the part of me that has a temper tantrum sometimes about things when I just like don't want this anymore. Then this inner child shows up, and there's some healing to be done around it. And one of our big, I think, as humans, our biggest um, learnings I've come to realize, in my mind, my mom's just one opinion, um, but this sense of our relationship to discomfort. How do we relate to things that are uncomfortable? We don't, maybe we don't like talking about them. Maybe we don't like thinking about them. Um, definitely don't like doing them. And so how do we relate? How do we be with that? Those things that are uncomfortable. Hmm. We had one of our participants today just bring up, her grieving process, and that is one of those places that can be really mucky and messy and hard, um, and uncomfortable. Yeah, and I think a lot of us um, are in the learning process as far as, we talked about this a little last week, as far as grief is concerned and mourning. Mm, okay, good. Okay, so we're working with another relationship here. So we started working with our relationship with the muck and the mess. What's this one around? This one's around, oh, I love that. So it's around our relationship with our own sense of capability. So oftentimes our work with discomfort comes down to whether we feel, or in part, um, whether we feel capable of being with it. Yeah. And often we surprise ourselves with how much we are actually capable of being with. Humans are quite incredible creatures in this regard. Good. And I love that this is coming up. So it's like the archetype that's coming up is the archetype of the beginner. The beginner. And I think many of us are here right now, this humility of like, wow, you know, there's some things that I'm like really having a hard time navigating, and I'm sort of starting to learn about. Like I think I used this metaphor last week of like turning over the rocks at the beach, you know, and being like, what's under this one? And we're all kind of in this process of like of that right now. Because we have a lot of time and space to ourselves that we may not have had in the past. And so this beginner mind, can I come to something with this totally open mind and just see what happens? I believe this is talked about a little bit in Buddhism, this sense of coming to something with a beginner mind. Learning over, you know, learning something new, even though you may know parts of it. To let some of that other stuff go so you can learn anew. All about relationships today. And this is, yeah, I think this is really kind of the track that we're on, is this sense of how, you know, how do I relate? How do I relate to people in my life, animals in my life, the grief in my life, the experiences that I'm having? Yeah, I've been relating this week to different aspects of shame that have been coming up in me, and frustration. Yeah, yeah, those have been some of the rocks that I've been turning over this week. Good. And we're releasing here at the end, the perfect timing, any self-criticism, self-judgment, self-doubt around all of that. It's like beginner mind, you show up with just this childlike innocence. What's going to happen? We watch children, and it's quite amazing before all that other stuff comes in, where they can just take in the information and not worry about, will I get it right, or, you know, how's this going to look, or am I capable? I just do it. And that's so beautiful. I think there's a lot we can learn from children and animals too. So we're just going to tap this out, this piece to start. We can tap if you want to tap with me. You're welcome. It's tapping on the head, really light, over both hemispheres. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Thanks, Laura. And tapping over the heart. This relationship to the muck and the mess, and just being okay with being there. Relationship to discomfort, knowing we're supported, knowing we're capable. Good. Nice. It's always interesting to see where these sessions go. I never quite know where we're going to head in any one day. It was a surprise. Like I said have said in the past, it's like just as much for me as for all of you. There's things that are landing for me as well through this group work, which I just love. Yeah. Here come the yawns. Whew. Very good. Yeah, this next one's kind of cool. I've really been thinking a lot about this lately, and it's essentially I give myself permission to connect to the natural cycles. Um, and I think so often in our lives we are so busy, we may not get a chance to be really, really connected. I've been finding this year because I'm here so much. I'm like watching, okay, this is blooming now and this is happening. And I'm like literally watching my plants grow every day, checking in on them, see how much they've grown. And yeah, connecting into the cycles, and whatever that is for each one of us. That might be the cycles of the seasons. We're all women on the call here. It might be, menstrual cycles, or if we're perimenopausal or menopausal, there might be cycles that you're experiencing in that. Cycles of harvesting. I harvested some stinging nettle yesterday and some mint. So yeah, whatever that feels like for you, is that sense of connection. It might even be waking up with the light, and going to bed with the dark. Right. Yeah, and I think one of the things I'm grateful for in this time is actually having space to connect. I never really have much of a garden, even though I live on this big property, because I'm literally away from home so often and for so long that I can't water things and keep them alive. And so, yeah, to have this space and time. And I think, I know I've come from a lineage where like busy and rushing and being productive and effective and all of that was really, really important. So it's a challenge in some ways to dismantle that, but also a real gift. Hmm. The busyness, the busyness. Hmm. It's like working with them. I'm going to call it the fear of slack, and you know, um, that word slacking, like not doing enough. not being productive enough, or effective enough. And we're literally starting to do a clearing and a cleansing of that fear right from the level of the cell in the DNA, where this has been passed down the line of we must be productive, we must not slack. And can I really, bringing the question, can I allow myself to flow within my life more? It might not be all the time, but more. Yeah. So we're releasing that from deep down in the cells, that fear. And this is one that I've really been struggling with for myself this week. So maybe it resonates. I hope it resonates for you, is this sense of the archetype of the successful person. Who knows what the heck that is, really? But I think we all have this image in our head of like what that is. I know I've had this image sort of haunting me of like, out there in front of me. That's what being successful is. Yeah, so we're given this opportunity at this moment for some space and some introspection around that place. I really feel that up for me right now. The pressure that this sort of successful person archetype has sort of put onto my being and my flow. The judgment that might come in about all the ways we feel like we're not adding up to that. Okay. And we're clearing out the lymphatics and the whole body around all that. It's like a bit sludgy, really. Yeah. And lovely to see the animals here coming in. Wondered when they might show up. We're bringing in this week actually some cat energy, which I think is quite perfect, really, because pardon my French, but cats don't tend to give a fuck about what anybody thinks about anything, which I think is an excellent energy to bring into this moment right now. So we're bringing in that cat energy. My friend Laura Bird shares that the cat holds the frequency of the solar plexus, of this power center right in the middle of us. Yeah. And this sense of independence and like, I'm going to do my own thing, despite what everybody else says, despite what my group or my tribe or, my culture says. And we see that in cats. And it's a beautiful thing. Good. I'm thinking of my cat Parker, who's the epitome of this energy. Let me just take a little dose of that energy of the cat. Good. Good. So we're going to tap this all out. We're starting this formula with the permission I give myself permission to be with the cycles, the natural cycles, to connect with those natural cycles, really allowing myself to flow. And I start releasing some of this built up stuff around being successful, being effective, being busy. Can I allow myself to release some of those pieces? Can I release that fear of being a slacker right from myself, that fear of being lazy, just letting it go from literally the inside of that DNA in your cells. I don't need that anymore. Bringing in that cat energy. Some of you might be like, I don't want cat energy. It's pretty cool. So just seeing if you can bring in a little homeopathic dose of that independence and that fluidity that is the cat. That is the cat. There. You might have a particular cat in mind, or like a tiger or a jaguar or a lion. Let's see what comes to mind. Give myself permission to connect to the natural cycles. All right, lots of yawning today. All right, there's one last little bit here today. There's something here. I release my tendency to ignore something. Oh yeah, that's a good one. I feel like this session is a lot for me. I hope it's for you too. This one is, I release my tendency to ignore my successes or my wins. I don't know if any of you else do this, but I have this thing where I like forget about the things that I did well or like succeeded at, or like actually, and then like I just go into this space sometimes of like, I've done nothing with my life. It's a bunch of bullshit. It's really interesting how we're just like, nope, that didn't happen. That doesn't fit with like what I want to believe right now. Okay, so yeah, that's where we're going. That's where we're going here. All right. And this one's for you, Stephanie. It's like the intolerance to letting go of my limiting beliefs. I don't know if you feel that sometimes, but I have this sense that like there's a part of me that really enjoys just being like, I'm so so I can't do anything. Like there's a part of me that kind of gets a kick out of that. I know that sounds a little weird, but maybe you resonate with that out there. And so this, yeah, like can I lay these things down? Can I really truly let them go and not pick them up when it's convenient, right? It's a big question. Yeah. And you may find that there's certain stories that just keep wanting to kind of come up and recirculate because they have juice and they've got charge, and maybe there's a particular way that they make you feel. Yeah. And so this has been one of mine, is like, can I just truly go, no, that's actually not true, and stop it right there. And so there's a fear around that. Okay. I'm going to do an emotional release to finish here. What's this of? Getting a curveball here. Interesting. There's also an emotional release of grief. And I think a lot of this is around the letting go. It's like, even remember, like there's letting go of parts of ourselves that aren't working anymore. And that's a loss unto itself. And then a lot of us out there are coping with, the loss of pets, the loss of people in our lives. Yeah, a loss of circumstances. So many changes right now. And then here's this identity one on top of that as well, as we're working through all our stuff at this moment. All right, so trying to remember that permission. Release my tendency to ignore my successes and my wins. Yeah, all the ways that I'm shifting and even the important inner work that nobody sees. Nobody sees. It's such a win to do that inner work. It's like committing to coming here today and taking this chunk of time for yourself. That's a win. Yeah. Good. Good. Just breathing that all out. Any part of you that wants to hold on to, those maybe old belief systems that you're just ready to just let go completely. Just really release, not dig up again and, really release and let go. Makes me think that I might do some ceremony around this for some of those tedious beliefs that just kind of keep on hanging on. Do some work around that. Thanks, Laura. Yeah, good. Okay. Whew. Very nice. Couple more deep, full breaths into all of that. Letting that out breath unwind. Good. There we go. So for those that are listening into the replay, that's the end of our session today. Thank you for tuning in and reminding you to bring in self-care practices today for the rest of your day and for the rest of your week as you need. Taking care of you. And I hope to see you next week, Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Okay, bye for now.